Hey, everybody, it's another Wednesday, and that means another episode of Beyond Grit with me, Robert Young. So, my guest today is Kristina Graham, and Kristina owns a salon, and she's just recently started putting in infrared saunas in her salon. And she's got a pretty good story of why she made that decision to start putting in these infrared saunas into her salon. So we were able to sit down and chat and get her story, and it's quite interesting. So sit back, get yourself a cup of coffee, maybe a spiced pumpkin latte, I guess, because it's fall, so it's pumpkin everything, and enjoy the show. Take care. Hey, Kristina, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. How's your week going?
It's good.
Good.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to? What do you got going right now?
So right now we just got our fourth sauna, and we're looking at locations to hopefully open up multiple locations for the infrared.
Okay. And are the saunas right now at your salon?
There's 4. So we just got our fourth one, and we're talking to different properties, trying to see what leases look like. But actually, it might be in about a year or so a better time.
Yeah.
Because I think there's going to be a lot of commercial real estate available. So I'd much rather buy something if we could, if that's possible.
Yeah, no. And that, it's funny, the whole housing where you have the houses and you can't get enough houses, and everybody's kind of looking into the future at the commercial real estate. And that just goes back to the whole COVID, and so many people are working from home and they're adjusting to it, and it's working.
Oh yeah. I've got tons of clients that don't want to go back, and you can see the little hesitation or semi resentment for, it even been discussed.
So when we kind of skipped over a little bit, tell people where the saunas are located and kind of what you've got going on right now.
Well, so for the first 15 years, we were just an organic hair salon. So we just had hair products and hair color that was non-toxic, and kind of had a population of clients that had some sort of health issue, and that was our main purpose. But then through health issues, I discovered the infrared. And so we started off with one right before the pandemic, and now we're on our fourth one. So we've integrated into a salon and infrared.
Okay. Now, where are you located?
We're in Cary, North Carolina.
Okay. Have you always been in North Carolina?
Yeah. Well, as far as the salon, you mean, or?
Nope. As you personally.
So I'm originally from New York, but we moved down here in middle school. So I feel like I'm from North Carolina.
Yeah, you're kind of, yeah. We moved down here from Michigan. It'll be 11 years in March. And so my kids were young, so they're pretty much North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, my kids were born here. So I feel like we're,
yeah.
I claim Carolina at this point.
Now, did you go to school? Did you go to college here in North Carolina?
I did. I went to Wake Tech for nursing, actually.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting. I didn't know. As soon as I got to the hospital, I was like, this is a bad idea. So
isn't that funny? How long did it take you to go like, wait, this isn't a good idea, I'm moving on, I'm shifting?
Almost all the way. I mean, everybody was like, you're going to regret this. This is a mistake. And I think I had a semester left. But that's when you start to work with the doctors, and that's when you start to really see what goes on in a hospital.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I'm going to work so hard at something and never get treated like I am, or that I'm intelligent or get any respect. And I just didn't And I was right. Because
Yeah.
all my friends that are nurses now don't want to be or are not
Yeah.
20 years later.
That, you know what, that was pretty strong of you to get to that point. And I know a lot of people will look at it and say, well, why did you take that journey all the way to the end? But I think
Yeah.
it's stronger if you do that and then you realize, like, this isn't for me, instead
Yeah.
of going into it and now you've got a bad attitude and you hate it
You're
forever,
I
right?
never even thought about it that way, but yeah.
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 I mean, that's
Yeah. Like kind of cut your losses is kind of how I look at things.
right.
As soon as
See, I always look at, and I had a bad thing of looking at things and, oh my God, I'm going to disappoint this person, or I'm going to disappoint that person. I
Oh,
made it all the way to here, and they, whatever the reason is,
yeah.
to where people really need to look deep down inside of themselves and say, this isn't for me. And because
Absolutely.
there's a long life. I know, life's short, do this, like, but there's still a long life,
They're really,
and
especially if you're doing something that you don't like
yeah. So
and
what
you're
did you do after that? So now nursing is
well,
out. What do
yeah,
you?
so that was my plan and I really didn't have another one. So my dad had said, "You know what? Just go to trade school until you can figure out what you want to do."
Mhm.
So I just picked hair. I grew up with boys and I never even had a doll.
Okay.
So I didn't care about hair. I didn't think about it. So I just picked that and was like, all right, I'll do this and then I'll pay my way through college when I figure out what I really want to do. And then I was like, wow, you're going to pay me to do this all day? I was like, this is so easy. There's no stress. Nothing can go wrong. So that was it. I was like, done. I'll do this.
Okay. And then it's strange the way that, life kind of leads you
Yeah. I
from
guess I
nursing to
needed some.
hair.
Well, and it's so weird because I know a lot of people that leave hair and go to nursing. So there must be that. Maybe it's the connection with people. You're
Mhm.
helping people. And I think maybe that was why I wanted to get into nursing.
Okay.
And maybe that's, I mean, you do help people look good, feel good. And it's a big part of, you
Yeah.
know, so
People don't go to the hair salon to come out and be regular. They want to look pretty. They want to,
exactly.
right? They want
Yeah.
you to help them.
Well, and then they end up sharing and we end up it's more than just hair. You end up having a relationship with a
Mhm.
lot of people and they give you advice, you give them advice. And my husband probably gets sick of me saying, because I've got a client for everything. Oh, I've got a client that said this or does that. But it's true. And I've used it for my raising my kids and everything.
Yeah. Did when you got out of cosmetology school and you became licensed, I assume you went and worked for somebody for a while before.
Yeah, that lasted about 6 months. So I just immediately was like, okay, I can't do this. I got a job waiting tables and rented a booth and just said I'll figure it out.
Okay.
I can't. And
And that
yeah,
was, and you started your own business.
yep. So I ended up running a booth at a place that I knew the girl that owned it, and I built up a clientele. And then eventually, she just didn't want to have all the responsibilities, and so she convinced me to take it over. And so I took it over, and our anchor store left. So here I am with a shopping center that's in foreclosure. That now,
Yeah. Are you
but we made
still
it work.
there, or did you guys
Yeah,
move somewhere?
we're still there. We made it through. There was 3 businesses that stayed in this, foreclosed shopping center. And by that point, it was the middle of the recession. And so we just stayed. We just kind of and we made and we stayed busy because we offered the organic and
Mhm.
nobody else. And so we made it work. Um
That was
now it's a full shopping center.
So that's unique, with the organic hair products and stuff like
Yeah.
that is because I've never really, heard about that.
Well, so I was always into really good food and eating clean, but I never realized, I just assumed the FDA just takes care of us and we don't have to worry about anything. And there was nothing dangerous about me going to work every day until sales reps came in and said, "Hey, we've got this new product and it just has a little bit of formaldehyde." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And so then I started to find out, what's really in all of our, mm, you know, cosmetics in general, and
Okay.
was horrified. And so we get all of our products from Europe and Canada.
Oh, okay. And they have much stricter guidelines, I assume.
Yes, there's 2,000 chemicals that the US allows in our food and cosmetics that Europe and Canada do not.
Wow, that's huge. I
That's
didn't know that.
Yes. Yes. It's remarkable. Yeah. And it's most people don't. They just take it for granted. You think you have an FDA that takes care of everything and that it's fine. But in reality, um, a
Yeah.
toaster strudel is like,
It's
so, and it's the same thing for hair.
ah. Now does it cost more for those products?
Well, that's the thing that's crazy about it is it's the same price, and actually now it's cheaper. And so I thought for sure that I was just ahead of the curve and that everybody would be following along and that eventually I'd have to find another kind of niche market because everybody would be organic. And we're going on 9 years and nobody is doing it.
Okay. That's
So, which is
interesting. That's really cool. Is it just
yeah.
easier access for the other stuff? I mean,
I just don't even think that they understand. I don't think they, until they get sick, they're a lot of people don't want to change because it's too inconvenient. And plus, the hair industry is all about, it's a who's kind of thing. So they want to be on trend, they want to be on brand. And so they want to use whatever all of the industry leaders are using.
okay.
And they don't really have that confidence to kind of say, well, no, I'm going to use what's right.
Yeah.
So
How were those first couple years of business? Did you get
fantastic.
yeah?
Didn't spend a dime in advertising. Had a guy that did a good website, and that was it.
Nice.
The people found us, which is kind of what's happening with the infrared. They're
Okay.
they're finding us.
Wow. So what led you to so you got out, you said no nursing. I'm gonna go into
Yeah.
hair. I really like hair. I'm gonna rent here. You had the opportunity to take over this booth. At that time, were you single? Did you have kids? And what were you trying to
I
do?
so I was married and I was actually going on my third surgery. So I was really in no position to be taking over somebody else's business.
Okay.
And yeah, so and
Well,
I had two kids. I had a 3-year-old and a 9-month old.
okay. That was busy. You had a lot going on.
Yeah. So
Okay. So what led you to the infrared saunas that you started talking about in the very beginning?
well, so I was in a car accident, which led to a medical device that was defective, which then led to about 14 surgeries and debilitating chronic pain. And
Okay.
I had a client one day that said, "You should try this infrared." And within 24 hours, I bought one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How long did you battle the pain and stuff from the surgeries?
It had been, so it was defective hernia mesh. So that's essentially plastic
Okay.
that just breaks apart and goes everywhere that it wants to in your abdomen or wherever they put it, but it's mostly the stomach area. But so it was uh 2011 until about a year ago. I had 5 different pain clinics, multiple surgeries, and I was at the highest level of pain that you could possibly be at, 24 hours a day.
Wow. And medicine, I'm sure you tried the whole medicine route and that
Yeah,
and
so I was at a pain clinic and I was prescribed opioids, which I did take. Just I figured out a way to kind of cheat the system so that I could take them but not be completely zonked. But
mhm.
and and then yeah, well, so originally when I had the mesh, I couldn't find anybody to take it out. So because they don't want to admit that's a problem. So they don't want to, so I had to fly all the way to Las Vegas. I found a doctor there that was willing to take it out.
Wow. And is that stuff still used today?
It's still used every single day. 1 out of
Wow.
5 patients has a problem with this.
Okay.
And that's why they don't want to remove it, because when they remove it, there's more evidence that it's a problem.
And you had to go all the way to Vegas to find somebody to remove it.
So
Wow.
yeah, so I knew, we finally figured out that it was the mesh that was causing all of my pain. And I went to doctor after doctor in this area, and they kept saying, no, we can't take it out. So finally I just got on my phone and I Googled doctors that remove mesh, and I found a guy.
Over in Vegas.
Yeah. So my husband and I went, we got an early flight. We met him that day. The next day he did the surgery, and the next day we flew home.
Okay. And
And
that
then 2 weeks
was,
later,
go ahead.
2 weeks later, I was back to work.
Okay. So that was the beginning of the end, kind of the healing.
Well, no, it wasn't. So that was
Okay.
only the third surgery. And what
Ah,
happened is this stuff is supposed to, you can't really get it all out because you can't really find it. So we literally would have to wait for it to come to the surface to get more removed.
wow.
So literally, it would come to finally I found a surgeon here that was willing to help me, but I mean, it destroys organs. So I had multiple surgeries with, complex surgeries, 3 4 hour surgeries where they're reconstructing things in there and um removing things, and I was left with nerve damage, muscle damage, scar tissue, the whole.
Wow. And right now, going through all this, you've got 2 kids,
Yeah,
you've
baby,
got your husband, you have babies, your husband,
and
and
a business to run.
and a business. Now, does your husband also work, or does he?
Yeah, he
Okay.
traveled.
Ah,
He traveled. So yeah, so most of the time, luckily I had a good support system. I had some my mom and my mother-in-law, so they would come over a lot, and they would help out. But I had to get back to work, and I wanted to keep it for my kids, so I wouldn't really let them know. So there'd be times where we would say we were going out to eat, and then I would have a surgery, and then I'd come home and be like, oh, we had to stop by the doctor, they had to stitch some stuff up, and no, we're fine.
we're all good now.
Yeah, well, because you don't want the trauma and the stress to be on them. Well, mommy's always sick, and
Right.
so
Yeah, they just want mom, and they just want to be kids.
well, that's it. And I did not want to take that from them. So we just tried everything we could to just keep life as normal as possible. And most of my clients didn't even know. I mean, I didn't even want this to be a part of, I didn't even really want my story out there.
Yeah.
Because
You just wanted to keep going and do it and not affect anybody.
I did. Yeah. Well, that's it. I just wanted everything. And I was always one surgery away from everything being fixed
Mhm.
until it was 14.
Jeez. So
So,
incredible.
and yeah, and so I just, like I would have a surgery, and then a week and a half later I'd be back to work, and I just pretended I was on vacation.
And nobody at work knew?
So the girls at work knew, and so
Okay.
they had a really good team, and so they really helped to kind of fill in the gaps and stuff. But for a majority of my clients, I just acted like I was on vacation, and that was my like checkout place, so I could escape being so sick when I come to work, and then the clients would talk about their lives, and I would be able to kind of pretend that I was okay. And, that was kind of like my safe place was work.
Okay. And then, somebody introduced you or told you about these infrared saunas, right?
Yeah. So I was taking hot showers after I got off work, and she was like, "That's ridiculous." And so she told me about the infrared. She was from California. They were just starting to be up and coming. And I went, um, I got she sent me the link to it. And I called my husband, he was out of town. I said, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but I think that we should buy this." And so he's a realist. I say pessimist. He says realist. And
Okay.
so he Googled it. And within 24 hours, he was like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we should make it part of the business." And I
Oh.
was like, "Wait, supposed to be at the house, but
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah.
So, he's really been the driver of all this. He's in sales and marketing. And so he's the one that said, "You got to use your story."
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
I've been okay with it now, because I really do want to help people realize you don't have to be in the situation that you're in. You can advocate for yourself. You can push through until you get the results that you want. And that's kind of what I'm doing with the sauna now. I've created like a network of a toolbox. So people come in, they have issues, and then I have all these providers that I can send them to so that they can resolve their issues too.
Okay. Who would have thought that would have you would have been led to do this now,
It,
and it goes all
but,
back to the helping people, right? Your
well,
initial plan.
was yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ironic too that I wasn't in nursing school, but yet I spent 10 years with doctors.
Mm,
I
man.
mean, 2
It,
days a week I was in a doctor's office.
so with the infrared saunas, because there's, when people think of saunas, there's like the three main, the dry, and then your traditional with the
Yeah.
wet, and then the infrared. What are the differences? Like, why does this help over any of the other ones?
Well, so because it's actually completely different. So with a traditional sauna, the air gets hot.
Okay.
So it's just a heating system, and as heat does help, it's just on the surface. So you're sweating from the outside. Whereas with the infrared, your core temperature is rising. So you're actually getting an artificial fever. And when you have a fever, that's where all the healing comes into play. So it's far, mid, and near, and the far is penetrating all the way down into the cellular level. So it's detoxing the liver, it's increasing your cardiac output, it's decreasing cortisol, speeding up your metabolism. So you're burning calories while you're in there. It's decreasing the inflammation, so it's decreasing the pain, producing collagen, which is what all the women like.
Did and these run at a lower temperature, doesn't it?
They
As
do,
opposed to the other
yes.
ones.
Yes, yes. So like my husband has marketed, it's enjoy versus endure. So you're comfortable the whole time. And there's even a little tablet in there. So you're watching Netflix while you're relaxing, and you're sweating, but it's more like as if you were to have the like a fever, where your body you're sweating from the inside out.
Okay.
So it's much more comfortable experience.
Okay. And when you use those, how often are you using it?
So I was using it every day. For a
Okay.
while, it was my lifeline. And but there, depending upon what people's issues are, there's a lot of people that have autoimmune that's becoming a huge problem with people. They typically will come anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. But then there's people that have trying to balance out their hormones, and maybe they'll come like once a week.
Okay.
So it just depends upon or like people that work out, if they lifted too much at the gym, they can come and it'll reduce the amount of time. It increases their recovery rate.
Okay. So like the autoimmune, something like fibromyalgia.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Exactly.
My
That is
mom
the
suffers from that for years, like 20 years.
yes. So that's the exact person that it would be for. And so typically somebody that comes in with fibromyalgia, I've got other places for that person to go.
Okay.
So like the guest that you had on would be a perfect I would have actually contacted them. Jennifer, I think her name
Yep.
was
Yeah.
the uh the plants.
Yep. A
So it
naturalist
yes.
and more in the
So
natural healing. Yep.
yeah, so you've got to detox from all the heavy metals, and so we try to refer them to naturopaths or functional medicine doctors that can help with all of the environmental stuff, because we're starting to see that autoimmune is really more to do with all of the toxins on board than an actual, what Western medicine says it is.
Yeah. And it goes back to the whole thing with just your hair products and the food in the 2000, you
Yes,
know,
1,000%.
toxins. And
Yes.
we have so many toxins in the air right now and whatever we eat, and that affects
Yeah,
you. Oh,
it does.
and I always look at, some people don't put their nutrition ahead of their life or their lifestyle, and it's such a huge part of it. I always
It's
equate
everything.
it, yeah, to, if I'm gonna go and race cars, I want the best, right? I want the best gas in
Yeah.
there, I want the best fluids, I want everything, because I want it to run. And that's kind of how our bodies are, and when we fill them with junk, then we feel like garbage.
Well, that's exactly it. And now there's just so many more factors, and they're putting more stuff in the food.
Yeah.
So it's becoming harder and harder. But
I
yeah, so
I mean, just in the air that we go and breathe,
exactly. Yeah.
because we can't control that unless you want to move somewhere into the mountains, which I wouldn't mind. But
Yeah,
but our
exactly.
food and drink and stuff like that, we can control.
Yeah. Well, and it's becoming harder and harder, I feel like too, though.
Uh-huh.
It-
Yeah.
I feel like the food industry stays one step ahead of us. And we're always
Yeah.
having to kind of adapt to what tricks did they pull this time. And
Yep. And even when you go on, and I can see where it would be hard, even when you go into the organic space, um,
yeah,
it it costs a lot, and sometimes it's very cost prohibitive for people to feed a family on that, you know.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I I've got clients that are, buying half cows. I mean, who can realistically, you know,
Yeah.
get a cow to store up, and then all the supplements that you kind of got to take. So it
Yeah.
really does add up, and it's not affordable. And then also people want what the doctor says, and the doctor isn't saying to eat better.
Yes.
They're
No.
just giving you a pill.
And you can go get this pill and it only costs this much, and all I have to do is take this pill.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I see where I can see where it's difficult, but even promoting, exercise and daily
yeah.
walks and getting out there and helping people feel better, that's hardly ever prescribed.
No. Well, it's not even taught in medical school anymore.
Mm-mm. No.
So that's a lot of it. But I think that things are kind of people are sick of being sick.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for other options. And so I think we're going to start to see a shift in
I hope so. I hope so.
I
I think it's needed. And where do you pay the money? You can pay it up front by eating and taking care of yourself and doing that, or you're going to pay the piper later in life with your quality of life and your medical bills and things of
well,
that
that's
nature,
it. You're not
so
yeah, you're not going to be able to work. And I don't, I realized that, being in a pain clinic, you see all walks of life, and most of them, they're on disability. They've got more than just pain, or they've got autoimmunes that have caused the pain,
Hmm.
and then you're not working. So the upfront cost really is worth it to.
Yeah. And everybody talks about, well, I went to the doctor today and I had my physical and they took my blood and
Yeah.
everything looks good. But yet your quality of life, you can't go out and do anything. And this hurts. And I can't even walk down, to the end of the drive. Like people don't
Exactly.
equate, quality of life and to blood results. They're so different and so far apart.
Yeah, and then you get into, well, what blood tests are they taking opposed to what you should really be looking for, and so
Hmm.
it's a whole nother.
I know. I know. I think it's just a weird little psyche, we have. Um, but heading back to,
Yeah.
we went off on a tangent, but that's okay. Um, Now you found a lot of success in this. I mean, if you're coming up on talking about opening up
Yeah,
another location,
yeah.
um, you know, did the success kind of grow quickly with this
Well, we
or
got it right. We got the first one January 2020, right before we got shut down for 3 months.
okay.
So, um, but now all of a sudden, yeah, like it. So we had it for about 2 years, and I was really the only one that was using it. I really didn't even talk about it. And then now all of a sudden, within the past 6 months, it's like, I mean, people are coming in every day, and the buzzword of light therapy and infrared has kind of gotten out there. You know how there's always something. Like 20
Yep.
years ago, it was St. John's worts, and then it was coconut oil, and so this has become the latest thing.
Okay.
And so, yeah, there's a bunch of places that are popping up everywhere, which is kind of how we found out about it. And um but when people come, they don't want to stop coming. That's the biggest thing that I've seen. And so then they're telling their friends, and it's happening pretty rapidly.
Yeah, that's really good though. One thing that I really like, it's totally different for me, and this is the mindset that a lot of people have, of going into business or starting something up, that you're like, no, I'm going to get one and I'm going to put it in my salon. And then I'll put another one in there, and then I get another one in
Yeah.
there. Where me, I'm like, oh no, I have to have a separate space, and it has to look really cool,
Yeah.
and I've got to bring in all these, that's my limiting factor. I
Yeah.
overanalyze the crap out of things and then don't do it. But I like, but that's a good entrepreneurial mindset. Is no, this is really good. I'm going to make this happen, and we're just going to kind of watch how it goes and build from there.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it was a perfect scenario for all the bills are paid with the salon part. And so it gave us the room to have that ability to kind of get the word out. And, there's a whole lot less pressure too. You got
Mhm.
to, especially in today's market, the commercial rent right now is just, I don't understand. I guess like we're like in an interim because it's still super high. So
Yep.
be interesting to see what happens when people don't go back to work, like you said, what's
Yeah.
available.
And I wonder if, if it's going to hit commercial space, or and commercial space, I mean storefront space,
Yeah.
or, you start hitting those office spaces. But then, already people are talking about in the office space of redesigning it to fit, the COVID thing, and then
Oh yeah.
redesigning it to work where there's still not as many people in the office, but you can still kind of be collaborative in there. So that's there, and
Yeah.
hopefully that'll kind of save a lot of these big office spaces.
Yeah, well, that is true because we don't need a repeat of 2008 for sure. So
No, for sure. So how do you maneuver through all, the business life and mom and raising the kids? How do you guys what's your
Well,
story?
yeah. Well, so I pretty much just go in until about 1, and then I'm in carpool, and then with them. They're getting a little bit older, so I've
Mhm.
been kind of able to do a little bit more on the business side now. But yeah, pretty much just the that's the business comes second, the kids come first. But it's all
Mhm.
kind of managed and been able to work out. I've just been real fortunate that I picked an industry that you can have those flexible hours.
Yeah, no, that's really good. How many employees do you have?
5.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so 5 hairstylists, and then about 2 or 3 girls do the sauna part.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you got quite an
Yeah.
operation going over there.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's worked out pretty good, and they're definitely a huge interest with, like, we're putting the 4th one in tonight. So
Okay. So what do you kind of see yourself, moving towards 5 years from now? Have you looked
um
that far?
yeah, so I definitely see us having some sort of, I think we're going to go in the route of opening up more locations. I think the goal is to figure out how we can do some sort of like the anytime fitness model, where people
Yep.
can kind of come in, use the space, where they all have a key possibly. That
Okay.
might be, but either way, definitely go in the infrared route, and maybe adding some others, like having a location where there's multiple alternative routes,
Yeah.
alternative medicine. And yeah, I think that's the direction that we want to go in.
Nice. Well, how do people find you? Like if they're listening and that I want to try this out or check this out, how do they find you?
Well, so we're on social media, where we've got a Rise Salon and Infrared Instagram and Facebook, and then Rise Salon and Infrared.com. And
Okay.
they can book online.
Oh, nice. And then just go into your carry site right now and do their thing and then kind of watch for you guys to branch out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We hope to have locations where everybody has access to, because the ideal thing is for it to be about 10 to 15 minutes from your house,
Okay.
because otherwise it kind of defeats the purpose.
Right. It's got to be convenient.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like similar to a gym. You don't want to drive 30 minutes to do a workout.
No, absolutely not. Well, Kristina, I appreciate the time that you spent with me today, and your story is kind of cool. It's amazing to where it kind of led you to where you are today. No,
Yeah,
probably not, the smoothest at times,
no, definitely not.
but you are where you are, and it was good. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you. This was great.
All right. Well, good. Have a great rest of your week.
All right, thanks. You too.
All right. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Beyond Grit with your host, me, Robert Young. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and review. Tell somebody about it. You can find this podcast on all major podcast platforms, and be sure to tune in every Wednesday for another exciting success story of somebody going beyond grit. Until then, take care.